Hi. Anybody remember me? I'm your friendly neighborhood field guide, Irene. I know it's been a while. Well, winter is upon us. We've had some snow, and I've gone skiing way out in the backwoods, ungroomed, no pussified trail grooming, and it can get rough out there. You get hurt out there, nobody's just going to come and pick you up. So, what I decided to do this year, instead of using oh, there goes a big fat squirrel. Instead of switching back and forth between two different backpacks, I decided to incorporate everything into one backpack, and this is my hunting backpack. It's a Realtree Fieldline. No, it's a Fieldline, and I got it from Walmart. It was a good price, and the reason I really like this one is because it's got the side pocket here that fits my coffee thermos. It slides right in. It's a little tight. You got to kind of work it, and it's still pretty much brand new. But I mean, look at that. You can't beat that. There's nothing like a warm drink when you're out in the woods. So instead of going back and forth between the two, because I plan on doing a multitude of things during the winter, and that can go from, if it snows, I'll be skiing, and if it's not, then I'll go hunting. So I thought, let's simplify things a little bit and make this pack the all-purpose winter backpack. In fact, I may push that straight through to the rest of the year, because I also use it in survey season when I'm out in the woods battling bears, and it just makes life a lot simpler. So I've done a video like this before. It's called What's in the Bag. I'll put a card up for it if you want to check that out. I did that a couple of years ago, I think, when I was out hunting. And so I just thought it would be a good idea to do another one. So let's get started. There's not a lot of pockets in here, but there are more than my old school Academy backpack, the green one, the Green Monster, that I usually call the house on my back. But this one will balance the load a lot nicer than the old one will. The old one you can pack full of whatever you want. I mean, you can put it up to 30 pounds if you want. But it's a little awkward, and it hangs off my back in a kind of an unusual angle. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it's made. And it's got to be like 40 years old, and I've had it forever, and I just love it. But this one, it just fits my back more comfortably, and I just like, I hate to say it, but I like the way it works better. So, first things first, this is, to me, one of the most essential items to have in your backpack year-round. And all it is just a simple neckerchief, bandana. You can use it as emergency toilet paper. Don't get grossed out. You know, if it's number one, it's sterile. If it's number two, well, you might want to have had thought ahead. But it's still good in an emergency. If you twist an ankle, you hurt your hand, you have a cut, you can use this to help bind it and keep it from, keep your hand or your foot from falling off at least. It's also great just for blowing your nose. A lot of times when you're out there and it's like 8 degrees, but you're still, you're skiing up a hill because, well, that's what us cross-country skiers like to do. We like to ski up hills. Don't get me wrong. We look for the downhills. We look for speed. And trust me, cross-country skis are not wimpy. In fact, I want you to know that the Norwegians took out the Nazi hard water industry that they were creating during World War II in Norway, which was in the town of Telemark, Norway. And cross-country skis are as old as time itself. They've been around with human beings since the dawn of time. They are so old. It was a great way to get around. But yeah, during World War II, the Norwegian soldiers and some allies got together, and there was a lot of snow on the ground, and they knew how to ski. So they got on skis with their blunderbuss, and they blew up that hard water factory. In fact, there's a great movie about it. It's called Heroes of Telemark. I think it was made in 1965. Very, very nicely done. I suggest you watch it. So what's next? This is the back pocket that's up against my back. So I try to keep, this is the one that's going to be up against my back. So you don't want anything poking your back, making you uncomfortable. So I try to keep softer items in here. This is my toiletries bag. This is on the days, you know, you didn't have time at home for number 2. So it's always really good to have this. In fact, I have to add more to it and make it a little bit thicker. But keeping things like this in that back pocket up against your back will make all the difference. Nobody wants something poking them. I have some fire starter in here from Black and White, courtesy of Tom Ritter giveaway. Always a good idea to have. You don't always get a chance to build a fire, but you know, if something happens and you're out in 2 feet of snow and you need to be warm, I mean, our bodies run warm, so we need the heat, especially when we're injured. And it's a great thing to have for an emergency. Not to mention, it's just good peace of mind to know that you have this. I also have my survival bracelet, and this is BZG. I'll put a card up about it. I did a video about this, I think a year or 2 ago. It has 14 feet of paracord on it. Oh, that's my cuckoo clock. Another party heard from. The sun is starting to come around. About 14 feet of paracord. You can take it apart. There's a nub on the end. Most of them have a nub. You don't want to cut it because you want to keep it in one piece. But there's usually like a nub inside where you can get it to unravel. Has a whistle, and it has a compass, and it has a teeny tiny little ferro rod with a striker, and it works. There you go. That was a nice little spark. And this is BZG is a veteran-based company, and look it up, Google it. They have fantastic programs for veterans with PTSD, for their families and their friends and loved ones. It's a really, really fantastic program, and I bought a couple of these. I have one in the car, and I have one in the backpack. Just in case, it never hurts to have extra paracord out in the woods. Okay, since this is multi-use for the winter, and I'm going to go from, you know, hiking, skiing, to hunting, this is in case I'm out hunting, and I get a squirrel or a rabbit, and I want to skin it in the forest. You don't have to use rubber gloves to do that. In fact, I'd rather not, but sometimes it might help to have it. You know, it's a personal preference. I usually do it barehanded, but I do it next to water. But say the water's frozen solid, and there's no snow to wash my hands off in, I don't like to use those wipes. They're full of weird chemicals. Even the natural ones are kind of weird. So in lieu of, you know, having a ton of blood or something under your nails, which is not the end of the world, sometimes it's just convenient to have one. Besides, you know, if somebody needs like a prostate exam out there, you got a rubber glove. And this is my all-time favorite survival kit. I'm not going to take the whole thing apart. The card that I put up earlier, in that video, I did take this entire thing apart. I cannot remember the name of it. It's in here somewhere. I think it's American Survival Industries, or don't quote me. I'll put the information into the description link below. But it's got fire starter in it. It's got, I put some lures in it of my own. It's got a magnesium striker, some extra nylon cord. Now, I just want to make a note about what kind of cord you bring out into the field, whether it be summer or winter, but specifically winter. Make sure it's nylon. all right? Because if it's cotton cloth, it's going to freeze up and it's going to stiffen. If it's nylon, all you got to do is snap it or rub your hands on it, and that will take the ice out of it, and then it becomes perfectly usable. So, common things in here, extra mittens in case it gets really, really cold. It's kind of nice to have your fingers together. These are Thinsulate that I use for shoveling, and I bought them at a New York State gun show. I think it was out in Middletown, and they were really cheap, and they were like one of the best investments I've ever made. Extra socks, always a good idea. Smart wool, there's nothing wrong with merino wool, and they keep wet or dry, your feet stay warm. Plastic bag for garbage, it's skiing or hiking, or for little bodies that are starting to cool down, you know, rabbit or squirrel. Always good to have that. Besides, you know, there's no point in trashing the woods. Take your garbage out with you. Another pair of extra gloves, and these have those tips. See the gray tip? Where if you need to use your phone, it'll feel the warmth of your finger, excuse me, through these tips, and it will make contact with the phone. So, you know, if you don't want to take your gloves off because you're cold, you could be in distress or something, that makes life a lot easier. And here's some more fire starter from Black and White, courtesy of Tom Ritter giveaway a couple of years ago. God bless you, Tom. Thank you. This is a pruning saw that was part of a JV Outdoors giveaway. I need to clean this because it's kind of messy, but it's still very sharp. This is great in a lot of instances. If you're in trouble, you could build a quick shelter. You could build a log cabin. Maybe not. Or if you're hunting, you know, you need to cut some branches out of your way, you're sitting in one spot, and you want to put up a little bit of a blind. This is always in my backpack. Not to mention, it makes a damn good weapon in case something weird happens out there. Because you never know. I live in New York State, 60 miles north of New York City. Anything can happen. And it has. More Black and White fire starter, courtesy of Tom Ritter's giveaway. And we have the incendiaries in here. I forget what they're soaked in. Tom, if you're watching this, you can you know, fill in the blanks. And there's some flat fat wood in there. This is really nice because it fits anywhere in the backpack and it never gets in the way. This is also a JV Outdoors giveaway. This is a Schrade knife. No, they're no longer made in America. I do have original Schrades. Some of them were the etched one, hand etched ones, and whalebone. Absolutely beautiful, like the collector's editions. What I like about this knife so much is it came from JV, and he's such a sweetheart, but it's got a really, really tight sheath. So it stays locked in there. It's really nice. It's always in the bottom of my backpack, no matter which one I'm using. And it comes with a ferro rod, and it works. There you go. Ooh. Good thing the tripod is made out of metal. And the rug is not on fire, so we're still good. I'll keep an eye on that. In my side pocket, my other side pocket, there's two side pockets on this bad boy. I love the design. Such a nice looking one. It's good color too. I loaded up with hot hands. A lot of people don't really go for these, but I do because they add a little extra comfort and civilization. You know, that with your hot coffee out there. I mean, I will literally ski miles and miles for hours and hours, all day long. And of course, in an emergency, it could mean the difference between life or death. So I always make sure I have some hand warmers, plus a couple body warmers. And I think these are hand warmers too. But the hand warmers and the toe warmers, as far as I'm concerned, they're basically the same thing. They're just shaped a little differently for the shape of your shoe. But they both work the same. it's not a big deal. But I think it's worth it to have that. It just makes life a little bit easier. The sun's coming in again. I'm going to have to shift you a little bit. I should have did this in another room. I'll probably end up editing all of this out anyways. Okay, so in the front pocket, that's usually where my car key goes. I always leave I keep them separate. I don't have one of those car key fobs that's got like a foot long mess of keys. I don't believe in doing that. I don't think it's good for the ignition in the car. So I keep my car key single and separate, unless I have like my Columbia winter jacket on. It's got a nice little zipper pocket up here that goes down pretty deep. That's a good place to keep it. Or I'll keep it in this pocket because it's easily accessible in case, you know, something happened and I'm freezing and I'm hunting or skiing or hiking and I'm on my way back to my car and I want that key immediately, you know, to get into the car, because a car can save your life in a life or death situation. So, or just for comfort. This is actually my homemade bug spray. It's essential oils, bergamot, citronella, lemongrass. It smells good. And I used to take it out of the backpack like when winter came, because I didn't think it would be an issue with the ticks, but it actually is, because we're not getting the frozen ground like we used to get. So it's not a bad idea, you know. Even if you're sitting out there in the snow and you're sitting on a log or something, and even if the temperature is like 28 degrees, I've had some ticks crawl up on me, and that's kind of a new experience. So it's not a bad idea to keep. Plus, with hunting, you know, if you're going to be sitting on the ground or something, on the bare ground, it's very, very likely you're going to pick up a tick. So it's not a bad idea to have that. This is a map of a forest preserve it's an old New York, New Jersey trail map, and it's changed, but it's basically the same. I don't really need it, but I've always had it. I think I've had this map since 1987, and I've always had it in my old backpack. So it's almost like a good luck totem, sort of. So I just keep it. I mean, I could be anywhere in New England or New York State, skiing or hiking, and this is still in the backpack. Not essential, but it's reading material, you know, if you get stuck. For cross-country skiing, I have my red wax, which I forgot the last time, and it was kind of a sucko trip, because when we got up to a higher elevation, the temperature will change, and as you're using your skis, there's friction underneath, so you're going to end up picking up snowballs, and it's pretty cool. It's got a little pad, and little dab will do you. You put some on the bottom of your skis, and it makes them glide better, and it keeps the snow and the ice from building up. Because if you don't have this, like what happened the last time it snowed, we ended up with like that much. Here's the bottom of the ski. The snow was out that much. makes your trip a lot harder. You got to carry the extra weight of the snow, and then you got to stop and take off your gear, and you got to scrape it down, and you got to make sure you get every speck of ice off of there, because if you leave one tiny dot of frozen snow or ice underneath your skis, that's going to be the contact point that's going to pick up more ice and snow. So it's important to have the red wax. This is my old school ouch kit. It came out of a Boy Scout kit from, I think, the 1970s. And the card that I put up earlier will show you everything that's in it. It's bandages, there's a surgical steel knife in there, and I put a lighter in there, there's matches in there. That other video will show you more of the details. I just want to give you an idea of what I'm using as multi-purpose for different winter sports and activities. This is pepper spray. It's a new one. I've had the same can of pepper spray, I think, for 10 years, and it still works. I never had to use it. I've only tested it to make sure, you know, it was still functional. But I ended up getting another one because last year, I'll put a card up for that too. last year. I had too many bear encounters. Chances are this is just gonna, it's a mind game, really. There's also a lot of weirdos in the woods, but this will probably just piss off a bear and make him run after you. But you never know. Not bad to have some mechanical pencils in your backpack, in case you want to write down notes about a trail or something, or some incident. Or you get stuck in the woods and you got nothing else to do, so you start drawing some pictures or something. This is new to me too, and I'm going to hang on to it for a long time. It's a stun gun. And, I mean, if you're going to use it on a wild animal, it's kind of ridiculous, because you got to get really close. But the noise itself, I think, may be enough to help. And, of course, you know, if there's some unwanted human intervention, this is, unless somebody's completely, totally out of their mind, this is going to put a stop to that, and it has a nice LED flashlight in it. Air horn. I'll put up another link for this too. My wildlife conservations, and I explain how an air horn will help keep a predatory wild animal away from you, because I had to use it myself last year, and a strange incident with 2 coyotes up in the mountain when I was doing a survey, and it worked. And I had talked to a friend who was a CB, and he said when he was in the Army up in Fairbanks, Alaska, he said this was standard equipment because of the polar bears. And what it does is, it's not so much that it's a screechy loud sound, it affects their pineal gland. And it distorts them, it throws off their sense of direction, and it will, he said this will slow down a polar bear enough for you to get out of harm's way. Hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. So I keep this with me, and this is an old one. Orion is a really good product. Somebody gave this to me probably 13 years ago, and it's been in my backpack. The only time I ever had to use it was last summer with the 2 coyotes that were running after me, and well, they weren't really running after me. They were hunting a fawn, and they were coming down the trail at me while I was doing my survey, and I picked up a rock, and I just had my clipboard, and I was like, there's nothing I can do except pick up a rock and offer them the clipboard to bite and, you know, start hitting. Just then, an adult doe, jumped out from the woods on the right-hand side and started trampling the crap out of them, and then chased them up the side of the mountain. Thank God for that doe. They were in the middle of doing something else, but I didn't want to, you know, I didn't have a crystal ball. I was going to sit down and reason with them. This is the charger for the stun gun, which I think is kind of interesting. I'm surprised it doesn't have a USB. Where'd that bad boy go? Oh, there it is. So, now that it's in the house and I'm doing this video and taking everything apart, I think what I'll do is I'll probably plug it in. It seems to be charged just fine, but it goes into the connector right there. And, yeah, you just plug it into an outlet. It's not a very long one, so, you know, you kind of have to, like, put it up on something or just hang it. You know, you don't want to damage an outlet. But... Okay, what else is in here? And then we have, oh, these are just, oh, these are falling apart, too. These are just desiccant packs. And, you know, whenever I find them, or if they come out of some packaging or something like that, I just throw them in a backpack, or I put them in the car, or in a closet, and it's just a way to just, you know, cheaply dehumidify something. I'm not sure where that came from. I think it came off this pack somewhere, and I just stuck it back in there. Well, regardless, that's the end of my story, and I'm sticking to it, and that is what I have decided to create as the multi-purpose pack for the winter, and I think I'm going to continue to do this throughout the year instead of swapping back and forth all the time, which is not the end of the world. But alright, well, I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section below. Like and subscribe if you will. I would really appreciate that. Take care, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.